to quick code. It starts with kuickcode.com. Today's problem is Subarray sum equals k. So it is also called prefix sum. The problem says given an array of integers nums and an integer k, return the total number of contiguous subarrays whose sum equals 2k. For example, this is an array and this is a k target value. So if we consider first one and second one, which makes one subarray whose sum is 2, so this is one subarray, and then if we take the second one and third one, that makes another subarray whose sum is 2. So two subarrays whose sum is 2, therefore answer is 2. Similarly, 1 to 3 elements are in the array, so 1 and 2 sum up to be 3, which is one subarray, and 3 itself make one subarray, so there are two subarrays, so answer is 2. So let's see a bigger example. So I have this array which 1 2 minus 3 1 blah 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 and target 3. So I have to find how many subarrays are there in this array whose sum is equal to target 3. So now what we'll do, first I will create a prefix sum. Prefix sum means basically cumulative sum, right? So 1 is 1, and then 1 plus 2 is 3 is 3, then 1 plus 2 3 minus 3 is 0, so 0, and so on and so forth, right? So now if you pick up any random cumulative sum, say 3, right, and then minus target, which is 0, let's call it a new target. If this 0 already exists previously in the prefix sum, then here in this case it exists here, then after that the subarray that starts after that and ends to that chosen element and random element, creates a subarray whose sum is equal to target. So in this case we have to look into input array, so 1 and 2, right? So 1 and 2 plus if this subarray 1 and 2, this subarray sum is target. So for another example is, say, let's take this element prefix sum, right, minus target 3. Does 3 exist before? Yes, it does exist. Therefore after this 3 till here, the exists a subarray whose sum is target. So let's look at the array. So minus 3 plus 6 is 3, which is equals to target. So you can check it out when a bigger arrays. So that is the base and assumption on which we will be building our solutions. So when we say that we pick up a random prefix, right, and then minus target and then get a new target, if the new target exists before then we find a subarray whose sum is target, therefore we got one subarray, right? So we'll be using that concept. So let's create a mapping, right? So let's take a simple, very trivial example. Let's say the array has two elements, 1 and 2. Now we do a cumulative sum, right? So if now the sum is 3, and then if we minus target, right, then 3 minus 3 is 0, then how many subarrays we are getting? We are getting 1, right? So if it is 0, then we are getting one subarray. So this is the base case that we have to add it to the mapping by assumption, initialized in the mapping, with the assumption, right? So let's now look through the prefix sum and then find the total number of subarrays. Okay, so now we also need to initialize a integer count, initialized with 0, right? So now look at the first prefix sum element, right, which is 1. So 1 minus target, which is minus 2. Minus 2 exists in the mapping so far? No. If it doesn't exist, then do not update the count, right? So count remain the same, so 0 remain the same. And then this one, 1 exists in the mapping here, and no, it doesn't exist. 1 as a key, right? So 1 doesn't exist, so we put 1 is to 1. So we put an entry in the mapping. In the next go to 3, right? 3 minus target, which is 0. Does 0 exist in the mapping as a key? Yes, it does exist. Then what we'll do, we'll take the value and add the value to the count. So currently count is 0, so I'll add 1 to 0, which will, then the new count is 1, right? And then this 3 exists in the mapping? No, then we'll add a mapping for 3. 3 is to 1, right? So it's mapping. Then next go to here, 0. 0 is the prefix sum. Prefix sum 0 minus target equals to minus 2. Minus 2 exists before in the mapping? No, then do not update the count. Okay, so count will remain the same. So 1 remains same, 1. Does 0 exist in the mapping before? Yes, it does exist. Then increment the value. So we have 0, 1, now it becomes 0, 2, right? And next 1, right? 1 minus target is minus 2. Minus 2 exists in the mapping? No. If it doesn't exist, then leave the count as is. So this count will remain the same. Now 1 exists in the mapping? Yes, it does exist. Then increment the value. So we already have 1, 1, so it will become 1, 2. So it is 1, 2. Now 3 minus target, which is 0. 0 exists in the beforehand, and okay, yeah, it does exist. Then take the value and add it to the count. So currently count is 1, so we are adding plus 2, right? Count become 3. The new count become 3. And then this 3. Does 3 exists in the mapping? Yeah, it does in mapping. So we just increment the value. So 3, 1 will become 3, 2. So this is 3, 2. Remember, this 3, 1 become 3, 2. So this is just one entry. You know, this 3, 1 and 3, 2 is just one entry. We're just showing the updates. Okay, now minus 0, right? 0 minus target is minus 2. Minus 2 exists in the mapping? No. So do not update the count. So count was 3, count will remain 3, right? And then 0 exists in the mapping beforehand? Yes, it does exist. So 0, 2, then increment the value. So 0, 2 will become 0, 3. This is 0, 3. Now 6 minus target is 3, right? 3 exists beforehand in the mapping? Yeah, it does exist. Then take the value and add the count. So currently count is 3 plus 2, which is 5. The new count is 5, right? And then 6 exists in the mapping before? No, then we just add 6 to the mapping. So the answer is 5. So therefore the subarrays that there are 5 subarrays in the input, whose sum is a target. So for example, this one 1, this is 2, and this is 3, right? And this is 4, and this is 5. So let's see the code. So we have a count 0 and prefix sum equal to 0. We have map integer, right? And then upper based on our assumption, right? It is 0 mapping. We are adding a value 0 and 1 to the mapping, right? Then we iterate the prefix sum, right? So just we are building the prefix sum. We are just iterating through the input nums and building the prefix sum here, right? And then map contains prefix sum minus k, which is the target. So if it exists in the mapping, right? If it exists in the mapping, then we take the value of the mapping, right, and add to the count. And then we check if the sum exists or not. If the sum does not exist, then we add the sum, right? The sum will be added, and then this sum will be added as a key. And if it doesn't exist, then this will return 0. But 0 plus 1, 1. So 1 will be placed in the map. So this way, when this whole loop will be processed, then count will have the answer and it will return the answer. That's it. Thank you. Bye.